Buy now, pay later does not look like debt. That is the genius of it. It does not arrive in the mail with the bank logo. It does not feel like taking out a loan. It does not sound like financial trouble. It appears at checkout like a friendly little option, sitting right next to your debit card and credit card, whispering one simple sentence: why pay all of it today? A $200 purchase becomes 4 payments of $50. A $90 grocery run becomes a few smaller chunks. A pair of shoes, a phone repair, a Christmas gift, a plane ticket, a mattress, even medical care suddenly looks more manageable. And in that tiny emotional moment, the entire business model comes alive. Because buy now, pay later is not just selling payments, it is selling relief. It shows up exactly when people are most vulnerable, when prices are high, wages feel stretched, credit cards are near the limit, savings are thin, and people still need to buy things. The industry calls this innovation. Retailers call it conversion. Investors call it growth. But for millions of consumers, it can become something else. A quiet debt machine hiding inside everyday shopping. The promise sounds harmless. Instead of paying the full amount now, you split the purchase into short installments, often 4 payments over 6 weeks. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau describes the typical BNPL product as a pay-in-4 loan with no interest, used mostly for retail purchases. That simple structure is why it spreads so easily. It feels smaller, cleaner, and less intimidating than a credit card balance. But here is the twist. Buy now, pay later. Companies do not need every borrower to pay interest to make money. Many of them make money from merchants. Stores pay BNPL providers because these services can increase sales, increase order size, and reduce the pain of checkout. Instead of staring at the full price, the customer sees the installment. That changes the psychology of the purchase. The question shifts from, can I afford $240? To, can I afford $60 today? That is not a small difference. That is the business. Retailers are not paying these companies out of kindness. They pay because BNPL can make people buy when they might otherwise walk away. A firm reported $3 billion in GAAP net revenue for fiscal year 2024, while Klarna's 2024 reporting showed gross merchandise volume rising to roughly SEK 1.111 trillion. These are not tiny checkout tools. They are major financial networks built into the nervous system of modern shopping. The magic trick is that BNPL makes debt feel invisible. With a credit card, you know you are using credit. With a bank loan, you know you are borrowing money. But with BNPL, the loan hides behind the product. You are not thinking about a lender. You are thinking about the thing you want or need. That is why the industry is so powerful. It does not interrupt desire. It lubricates it. And the most profitable part is not always the fee. Sometimes the profit is in making the transaction happen at all. Imagine a customer who needs new tires but only has enough cash for groceries and rent. Imagine a parent buying school clothes. Imagine someone using BNPL for holiday gifts because they do not want their children to feel the pressure at home. Imagine a worker using installments for a laptop because their job depends on it. These are not always reckless purchases. Many are purchases made under pressure. That is what makes the story uncomfortable. Buy now, pay later is often marketed as empowerment. And sometimes, it can be useful. A disciplined borrower can spread payments without paying credit card interest. Someone with limited credit access may use it as a short-term budgeting tool. Not every user is trapped. Not every BNPL loan is harmful. But the problem begins when the product becomes less of a convenience and more of a survival tool. The Federal Reserve found that BNPL use edged up to 15% in 2024, and the share of BNPL users who were late making a payment rose sharply. Nearly 1/4 of BNPL users were late, compared with 18% the year before. That is not just a shopping trend. That is a warning light. And the warning gets louder when you look at who uses these services most heavily. Federal Reserve researchers titled one study, "The Only Way I Could Afford It," and that phrase captures the emotional center of the entire industry. Their research used the survey of household economics and decision-making and examined why people turn to BNPL. The title alone says what the ads often avoid. Many consumers are not using installment loans because life is easy. They are using them because the full price feels impossible right now. The CFPB found that more than 1/5 of consumers with a credit record used BNPL loans in 2022. It also found that most of those users had subprime or deep subprime credit scores. More than 3/5 held multiple simultaneous BNPL loans at some point during the year, and 1/3 had loans from multiple providers. That is where the trap forms. One BNPL plan feels manageable. 4 payments. No big deal. But then another purchase gets split. Then another. Then groceries. Then clothes. Then a car repair. Then a birthday gift. Then a medical bill. Each individual payment looks small, but together they become a calendar full of automatic withdrawals. The borrower does not feel buried by one mountain of debt. They feel attacked by a swarm of tiny payments. And the system is designed to move fast. At checkout, the approval process can feel almost frictionless. Minimal paperwork, quick decision, clean interface. The customer gets the item, the merchant gets the sale, and the BNPL company gets another transaction flowing through the platform. But fast credit can create slow consequences. Many BNPL products rely on automatic repayment through debit cards, credit cards, or bank accounts. That can reduce missed payments for lenders, but for consumers living paycheck to paycheck, it can create a brutal chain reaction. A payment hits at the wrong time. The bank account drops too low. Another bill fails. A person avoids one kind of interest, but walks into overdrafts, late fees, or credit card balances somewhere else. The CFPB reported that consumers with at least one BNPL loan in a given month were more likely to carry higher balances on other unsecured credit, including credit cards, personal loans, retail loans, student loans, and subprime alternative financial services loans, compared with similar consumers who did not use BNPL. That means BNPL is often not replacing financial stress. It is sitting on top of it. And that is why interest-free can be misleading. Interest-free does not mean risk-free. A person can pay 0 interest and still become financially squeezed. A person can avoid credit card APR and still lose control of their cash flow. A person can make every payment on time and still be poorer because the product helped them spend money they needed for something else. This is the quiet brilliance of the model. It does not always need to punish people directly. It can profit from the moment before regret. BNPL companies argue that they are better than credit cards because many products are transparent, short-term, and sometimes free of revolving interest. That argument has truth in it. Credit cards can be extremely expensive. Traditional credit can bury consumers in compounding balances. Some BNPL lenders also say they use underwriting, spending limits, and repayment checks to prevent overextension. But the criticism is not that BNPL is always worse than credit cards. The criticism is that BNPL entered everyday life as if it were not credit at all. For years, many BNPL loans did not show up in traditional credit reports the same way credit cards did. That made it harder for other lenders to see the full picture of a consumer's obligations. AP reported that FICO planned to introduce scoring models incorporating BNPL loans beginning in fall 2025. But adoption may be gradual because not every BNPL company reports data the same way. That is a major issue. If the financial system cannot fully see the debt, and the consumer does not emotionally experience it as debt, then everyone is operating inside a fog. Except the platforms. The platforms see the behavior. They know who clicks. They know which products convert. They know which merchants drive repeat usage. They know how often customers come back. They know that splitting payments can transform hesitation into action. This is not just finance. This is behavioral economics at checkout. The pain of paying is real. When people pay the full amount, they feel the cost immediately. BNPL softens that pain. It turns one painful purchase into several smaller future obligations. It makes the present feel easier and the future feel negotiable. That is why the product is so seductive during inflation. When essentials get more expensive, people do not simply stop needing them. They still need food, clothes, transportation, medicine, and basic household goods. If the paycheck does not stretch, the market offers a solution. Stretch the payment instead. But stretching the payment does not stretch the income. It only stretches the stress. That is how an economy of struggle becomes an economy of fees, merchant commissions, transaction volume, and investor excitement. The darker truth is that BNPL thrives in the gap between what life costs and what people have available today. It monetizes the space between desire and affordability, between emergency and payday, between dignity and embarrassment. Nobody wants to say, "I cannot afford this." BNPL gives people a more comfortable sentence. "I'll split it." That sentence has helped create a massive industry, and the industry is still expanding. BNPL is now attached to major retailers, apps, travel platforms, online marketplaces, and sometimes even services people once paid for directly. It is no longer just a holiday shopping tool. It is becoming a payment layer for modern life. The danger is not that consumers are stupid. The danger is that the product is smart. It is smart enough to appear helpful, smart enough to look harmless, smart enough to make the total price feel less real, smart enough to turn financial pressure into a growth strategy. And that is why this story matters. Because buy now, pay later is not just about shopping. It is about an economy where millions of people are being offered more ways to borrow instead of more room to breathe. When people cannot afford life up front, someone will always build a business around letting them pay for it later. The question is whether that business is helping them survive or quietly making survival more expensive. So here is my question for you. Is buy now, pay later a smart financial tool for people under pressure? Or is it just a new version of debt dressed up as convenience? At Machine Minds, your opinion matters to us, so please feel free to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments section below. Until next time, take care.